my family was very involved in the church, and that was very much a centerpiece of our life, was the church right up the hill up there.
And that was ultimately two churches that got brought together, right?
And I remember the move.
Oh, please tell.
Well, the church where it is existing now is just the one where the door is facing the church. And the church up the hill, and there were two different denominations, and one was Covenant, I think the other one was Methodist, but I'm not sure I remember right. But after people started heading into Battleground for church, excuse me, attendance dwindled enough that the upper church was not being used at all. But physically it was the more beautiful church because it had the stained glass windows. And so, you know, I was a kid at the time. Who knows how decisions are made when you're a kid? But the decision was to physically move the church up on the hill, down the hill, and place it perpendicular to the existing church with a foyer built between the two. And I remember moving day. And, you know, it's so interesting. Why do you remember certain details and not others? But the easiest thing would have been to come straight down the hill and slide the church in. But in order to do that, the PUD would have had to come and remove some power lines.
And that costs money.
And that costs money. And so instead, what they did was move the church down the hill, turn the corner, and then slide it in from the end of the property. And I remember our dads referring to that as the $800 corner. Because it would have cost $800 for the PUD to come out and remove the power lines long enough to slide the church past the power lines and slide it into place. So by turning that corner, the community saved $800. So that was the $800 corner.
Wonderfully frugal.
And why do I remember that tiny little detail about our dads talking about the $800 corner? I don't know. But my dad was very, very involved in the leadership of the church, and so he was one of the people down here all the time helping build the foundation that the church would set on and build the foyer between the two parts. But many, many memories of that church. The original church, before the two were put together, had 4 Sunday school rooms down this side. And I remember Anna Anderson, my mother taught the next room, Esther Moberg taught the next room, and my dad taught in the 4th room. And the adults met for Sunday school in the main sanctuary. And so I clearly, as day, remember that. And I remember my dad, when it was wood stove, getting up early Sunday morning and coming down and building a fire in the church so it would be warm by the time all of us arrived for Sunday school and church. And then after it became an oil furnace, then there were all the issues related to that. But then I remember going to Vacation Bible School there when I got old enough to be on the Vacation Bible School staff. Ooh, that was very exciting. And even though the church was always small in attendance for Vacation Bible School, kids came from all over, where attendance on a Sunday morning, if it was, 35, that was, an okay crowd. But we would sometimes have 50 or 60 children for a Vacation Bible School. That was always amazing. And we always had a closing program, and the church was jam-packed full of parents for the closing program.